Hi, guys. I'm Mary Richardson. I help people through anxiety, and one thing that goes with anxiety is quitting smoking. So, if you are maybe you've already quit smoking, maybe it's been almost a year, or maybe you've been a long time smoke free, but you still are struggling mentally with not smoking. Or maybe you're just starting on your quit smoking journey. You've tried everything, but you're looking for that one thing that's going to push you over the edge to keep you smoke free for the rest of your life. The one thing that's going to help you, not push you over the edge, but the one thing that's going to help you stay smoke free. So this video is all about what you can expect mentally as you quit smoking. First of all, a little bit about me. I have helped a lot of people quit. All right, that's enough about me. Let's talk about you. All right, so if you are struggling with quitting, and you've probably quit at least one other time before, maybe it was for a day, maybe an hour, maybe it was for 3 years, whatever it was, you know the mental side of it for you. It can affect your focus, your concentration. It can affect your irritability. It can affect your anger. It can affect you in many different ways. Those are kind of the short term effects. But what can happen long term is, is very similar. For instance, you might feel, to be blunt, you might feel like crap. You might be moody all the time. Maybe you are successfully quit, meaning it's been 3 years, 10 years, 2 years, whatever, 6 months, whatever. So you've quit smoking, but mentally you don't feel in control and you just feel maybe defeated. Others are congratulating you for quitting, but you don't feel that success. Maybe you don't feel healthy yet, and maybe you're just struggling with feeling that at any time you could smoke again, or you just can't stop thinking about smoking. That can be really common, or you feel like the cravings are still there. So the research has shown, from what I've read, the research has shown that within 72 hours, nicotine is generally out of your body, or can be out of your body. So you're asking, well, how can I still have cravings a year after I've quit? Or, 6 months after I quit? Because what you might be experiencing are unmet emotional needs. Because if we take nicotine out of it, and if you're still craving, air quotes, craving cigarettes after some period of time, more than 3 days after, it can be because you haven't worked on the mental side of quitting, meaning what will you do instead of smoking? A lot of people smoke when they're upset. So, how will you cope instead of smoking when something is upsetting, or when life happens and throws you a curveball and you just don't know how to react? What can you do instead? If you haven't developed those skills and worked on the mental side of quitting, that can keep you feeling more like you're fighting your willpower constantly, meaning you're just fighting the urge to smoke, or you're fighting, like your willpower has a gauge, where you feel like at some point you might give in. And you can feel like everything is too much, or you feel overwhelmed, no self-control, or that you just, a lot of imposter syndrome, like you don't deserve the quit because or you don't deserve something, whatever it is for you. So what a lot of people aren't prepared for is whether or not they've developed other coping skills to help you stay quit. So whenever I hear somebody say, well, it's been 3 years, but I still crave a cigarette, I still think of it from time to time, that's really saying something else. And if you challenge that so-called craving and ask it questions. I know it sounds odd, but ask the craving questions. Ask yourself questions. Why do I still feel like crap after I've quit smoking and it's been, 6 months, a year, 3 years? What is this about? Are you, and you can, and some of the answers might surprise you from some things that I've read. People, and what I've seen with my own clients is if you ask yourself why you smoked in the first place, what were your triggers? And if you write that down or document it, you can see, okay, you smoked when you were lonely. You smoked when you were upset. You smoked after you ate. You smoked when you were afraid or fearful of the future. You smoked when you had anxiety. You smoked right before bed. You smoked first thing in the morning. You smoked if you were too busy. You smoked if you were overwhelmed. So all of those triggers that I just mentioned, how will you cope instead? How are you coping with those instead? And generally, if you don't feel good after you've quit, meaning you still feel the cravings or you still feel like you want to smoke, what have you put in place to feel better? In other words, what are you doing when you feel overwhelmed? What are you telling yourself? What questions are you asking yourself? What do you do when you feel lonely, worried, anxious? What great coping skills help you feel better? And if you're saying nothing makes me feel better, well, that's because you haven't found potentially an action that makes you feel better in that situation. So if you're lonely, but you're thinking, well, I always used to go have a cigarette when I was lonely, or I always used to go have a cigarette if I was stressed. Okay, well, if you're still stressed and nothing seems to help, that's a sign or a red flag that you need to work on things that can help you in a better way when you're stressed. It means you just haven't found the right things to help you in those situations. So, and this is assuming you've been to the doctor, that physically you're fine, there's nothing else going on. I'm not a doctor, so obviously this does not replace seeing a doctor. This is only my opinion and what I've experienced with my clients. And what I have noticed is the more mentally ready you are to quit, not just saying, yes, I don't want to smoke. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the smell. I want to be around my kids and grandkids. I want to be healthy. Those are great and they're motivational and it's your why for quitting. And that's really, really important. You also have to ask yourself, what are the other skills you need to stay quit? So what's the big thing for you that you're running up against now? What do you do when, you feel happy? And you can also have these same feelings about cravings when you're excited or happy, because the brain doesn't really understand the difference between being excited and being anxious. It can feel physically the same. You're excited to go on vacation, but yet you might feel worried because you don't know what to expect. You don't know where you'll eat, where you'll sleep. It won't be the same normal that you had. So if you're still struggling as your new person, as your new self being smoke free, it might just be that you haven't really embraced the new you, that you're different now, and that can feel uncomfortable. So a great way to transition from the smoker you to the new you, the non-smoker you, is to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're failing just because you feel uncomfortable. That's normal whenever you make changes. So if you can embrace the mystery, embrace the changes, embrace feeling uncomfortable, you're growing. And this is what growing feels like. It feels uncomfortable, and you're not alone. You look at athletes. When they're pushing to achieve some reward that they haven't achieved before, win a certain race they've never been able to win, they're in their uncomfortable zone, but they embrace it. And it's what they tell themselves that keeps them moving forward. So if you're really not feeling good about yourself now that you've quit smoking, what are you telling yourself? if you're not telling yourself anything, consider telling yourself something positive. Consider supporting yourself instead of looking for that validation or support externally. Look internally. What do you need to most hear right now? And tell yourself that. What do you most need right now? Okay, you need a hug. Give yourself a mental hug by telling yourself something wonderful about yourself. Name 10 things you just did in the last 24 hours. That was great. And if you haven't, if start looking at the things that you don't consider great. Like, did you say hello to somebody? It could have made their day. Maybe nobody else said good morning to them. So a lot of not feeling great as you quit smoking is really just, I have a theory that you go back to the emotional you were when you started smoking. If you were 13, 17, 15, you're emotionally, you can be in that same age emotionally where you're not sure of yourself, you're not sure how your future looks, you're worried, anxious, you're still trying to you might be trying to get over some sort of trauma. A lot of teenagers start smoking because they're upset about something, usually some kind of home life issue, or they're not accepted into a group. And even as a smoker, they weren't really accepted. They didn't feel comfortable. You can be that still that struggling 13-year-old or 17-year-old or 12-year-old. So you have to look there and say, okay, it's over. That you don't have to, you're not 12. You're not 17, and kind of be the parent to yourself. That can help you. So I hope this gave you some enlightenment about why you might feel unsure about being a non-smoker, why you may not still feel good. Obviously, physically, if you don't still feel good, that's, I highly, this doesn't replace seeing your doctor or your medical practitioner. So I highly recommend that if you haven't done that already. But if you've done all that and everything is normal, then look at the mental aspect. What do you need as a non-smoker? What do you need in your life as a non-smoker? What are you missing? Well, and some people are very attached to cigarettes as it was their friend, it was their go-to. I urge you to consider logically, it's a leaf and a piece of paper. All those things you made the smoking, those are things that you potentially needed in your life. You needed a friend. You needed comfort. You needed someone to spend time with when you were upset. And you can have all those things and so much more as a non-smoker. It does take work and it's continual. So embrace the change. I hope this helps you. My name is Mary Richardson. DM the word anxiety or click on my link. We can jump on a call. I can see if I can help you with the mental side of smoking as well. Be well, my friends. I'll see you in the next video.